Today, we're going to be looking at our newest collaboration book, Embracing the Impact of Cancer, with our two co-authors, Laura Sharp Wades and Heather Carter. Join us. Hey everyone, welcome, and I'm excited to have here Heather and Laura, and they are the co-authors of our latest collaboration book, Embracing the Impact of Cancer, and we're excited to have you guys here and talk a little bit about the book. So I'm going to start with you, Heather. Why don't you just tell us a little bit, you both have heard those words, you have cancer. So what were your first thoughts when you heard those words?
Well, to be honest, I think my first thoughts were, I can fix this. I'm going to control this. I'm going to find myself a good oncologist. I went straight to action mode, and I didn't even call my husband. The doctors told me on the phone that I had leukemia and that I needed to go to the hospital immediately. And my first call was to another friend to try to get myself a good oncologist because, just go right into fix it mode. So I've learned a lot about myself in this journey. And that's one of my kind of probably character defects is I got to fix everything, control it all. So eventually I called my husband and got myself to the hospital, and I was in shock for quite a while. It was very abrupt.
Yeah. Laura, did you have the same type of experience? What was the first thing you did?
I was working and got a phone call. So like Heather, I wasn't in the office, and I kind of knew it was probably going to be cancer, but hearing those words are like, oh crap. I called my husband, I called my pastor. Work sent me home because they weren't sure how to be around me. And that's like the worst thing they could have done, because I had a whole lot of time to be home alone and to research. And so thankfully my pastor shared some amazing websites that were safe to go to and not full of all kinds of quackery. But yes, getting to a good oncology, good cancer center was kind of priority for us as well.
Yeah. So Heather, let's talk about your support system. How did your family and friends react?
I think everyone else was pretty similar, had a similar reaction as me, is that they were just in shock, because I was in fairly good shape, good health, and there wasn't a history of this in my family. It really worked out. God had worked it out ahead of time that one of my kids was already at a friend's house, and I called another friend to come get my other son. And I didn't know till I got in the car to go to the hospital. I asked my husband how long he thought I would be there, and he said 30 days. I was like, excuse me? Wow. He said, that's the standard treatment for leukemia. So we immediately started, probably the next day, we started a blog site to update people on the status of my cancer. And we have family and all of our families in ministry around the country. And so people around the world were there were thousands and thousands of people immediately praying and checking in every day to see. We would just update people on my condition every day. And so we had a lot of support through that, for sure.
So how has your faith impacted you during this time, or helped you?
Yeah, one of the things I started doing with that blog is instead of just focusing on how the cancer was going, I started really doing a lot of self-reflection and writing about that. So, I've turned those posts have created 2 books so far. So I guess I have a lot of opportunities to reflect on ways that I need God's help. So it very much strengthened my faith, but it was very stressful and strenuous on my family in a different way. And we all came out still trusting God. But it was definitely a time of questions and fear and turning it over to God all the time. We knew there was nothing we could do about this cancer. Only God could cure me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Laura, what blessings have come from this struggle for you?
Like Heather, I had prayer partners all over the world. We didn't do a blog, but we did like a text, a group text. And so it was really heartfelt to know people that I didn't know were praying. But I realized about a week into the journey that God wouldn't be allowing this if he didn't have plans for it. So I now say that cancer blessed me because I met some amazing people. I've been able to minister to people having cancer and going through it. And it has brought me to where I am, has got the trainings that I've received, and has just been totally a positive experience. And it could have gone the other way completely.
Yeah, yeah. So, Heather, the title of the book is Embracing the Impact of Cancer. You and Laura came up with that title. What does that mean to you, embracing the impact of cancer?
Laura and I talked about this, and one of our main goals is to collect stories of hope and redeeming the bad stuff that we go through, whether it's cancer or other diseases or diseases of the soul, like worry and fear. All of it we can use for good in the world and in our families and in our own growth if we choose to do that. And we really want people to read these stories and embrace the impact of it. That doesn't mean we love cancer. And, some people are in situations with addiction. Doesn't mean they love addiction, but they know that it's turning them into a different, more faith-filled and positive and encouraging person as a result of those things. And that's how you embrace the impact of it.
I love it. So, Laura, I'm going to ask you the same question. What does it mean to embrace the impact of cancer, and why should people join in this book?
Because cancer it doesn't discriminate. It gets all of us, regardless of faith, regardless of background, regardless if we have a support group or not. It just gets us. And so you can either embrace it and move forward, or you can kind of wilt, which I've seen as I've counseled people on that. And I don't want to be that. And Heather didn't want to be that. We want to give people hope to move forward, because there's so many things that happen during our journeys. You may take a half a step forward and then have a treatment that throws you like 12 steps back. And so you need that hope to hold on to all during your journey. One of the things that happened for me was people sent me cards, and I put them all up on the wall in my living room, kind of like you'd hang up Christmas cards. And I have bad days. And on those days, I'd go find a card that spoke to me, either picture wise or word wise. And I would use that to hold on to the day. Like, okay, I've got this because this person is praying for me. Even when I didn't feel hope filled myself, others were holding that hope for me. And we just want to give that to others who are going through a similar situation. Like Heather said, addiction or another health issue, regardless of what you're going through, you can still find hope in it. And you can have that positive attitude. You don't have to be the ostrich that sticks your head under the sand and hopes that way that, things are going to get better, because that kind of hope won't work.
Yeah, yeah. So Laura, I'm going to stick with you. What steps should someone take when they first get that diagnosis, when they first discover that they have cancer? What are some steps that they should take? Number one, to find the right information, and number two, to move forward in this.
Definitely get your team. In my case, it was my husband, my parents, and my mother-in-law, and they were able to get me to all my treatments and surgeries and all that fun stuff. But get your team, get your prayer people together, and then look for a reputable oncologist and a reputable cancer center. because they're not all cancer centers are the same. We've got two, both roughly within the same time, miles wise, and one of them is hooked up to MD Anderson, and they are amazing, and the other one is not. And so that was a decision maker for me after growing up living in Houston for a while, going, oh yeah, they are they know all. And websites, like, just don't randomly Google whatever type of cancer you have. You can go to the cancer website by the Cancer Foundation. You can go to Komen. There are a couple medical schools that have some great websites out there, but just don't randomly type in something and believe it, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you don't want to get your hopes all bent on, oh, we can do this, and that's not how it happens. So just make sure you're getting good information, ask questions, and take notes. I didn't have anybody go with me to appointments, but I took beyond notes, and I had questions that I could either call with or take with me the next time.
Yeah. Heather, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, one of the things I was thinking when she said get your team, that is very important. But I also would say narrow your roster, because there's probably going to be people on your team that need to get off your team, because you're already in a volatile situation with your health. And if you have people and your emotions, people around you who are causing undue stress and toxic problems, you have the right to get those people, tell them to stay back for a while.
Right,
so I think that's important. Not everyone has to come to the hospital if they're causing stress for the nurses and stress for the doctors. You get to choose those people. So you might need to, make some cuts in some ways. The other thing I would say is write it down. Keep track of what you're going through in some way. Either write it or type it. I had an iPad, or I would type my stuff out, or say it, talk it into your phone or something. But you're going to think that you'll remember all of this, and sometimes you think you don't want to remember of it, but there will come a time where you do, and you can use the things you went through to encourage others, because that's why we're doing this book. Is that it's one thing for someone who doesn't have cancer to pray for you and encourage you and send you notes, but it's a whole different type of affinity you have with someone who has the same disease as you. And you're going to use this experience, hopefully, to encourage someone else who's going through the same. I know for me, when I first got in the hospital, there were 2 other patients in there with leukemia who came in my room and said, I know how you feel. You're not alone. I know exactly what you're going through. And that made all the difference to me, more than what anybody else said. So I think it's very important to write it down, and use it to, I fully believe we go through what we go through so we can help others get through what we went through. And we can't do that, especially if we're on drugs and we forget what we went through. So it's important to get those things written out somewhere, or, recorded.
Yeah. I mean, how has it benefited you actually writing it down?
In so many ways. Really, the initial reason I started to write was because I needed to get it out of my head, so I didn't ruminate on it and stress out and become more and more afraid. And it just got that fear out of me and onto some paper. And when I shared that with other people, even people who didn't have cancer, they felt encouraged, and they felt like they could go one more day in the situation that they were in. If you have cancer and you can do that, then I think I can handle what I have going on today. And so I keep writing, because I have a lot of diseases and plagues of the heart, as I call them, that continue to haunt me, and I have to get those out on paper. And it helps me, but it also encourages other people who are feeling like they might be the only ones struggling.
Yeah. Laura, have you? Has it been the same for you? Have you been writing it down, and has that been a release? How has it worked out for you?
It has been so therapeutic to write it down. And as Heather said, depending on what treatment you're in, you could have brain fog and the medications, and you forget stuff. And so I wrote just to kind of document what was going on. And to be able to remember, because the brain fog for me was so bad that I'd go to the kitchen and forget why I was there 3 times, and finally told my husband, seriously, why am I in the kitchen? He goes, you wanted water. I was like, oh, geez. So writing that down when I meet other people and can share that, and and similar with Heather, I did some welfare checks with women having cancer, and when the volunteers don't have cancer, don't know what's going on, and here you have had it, and I would be in between treatments with them calling, and they'd say, well, you don't understand. And I said, yeah, I am. I'm waiting on my next round of chemo, or I'm waiting on my next of a gazillion surgeries. And they said, oh, you get it. And you're right. If you can drive an hour and 45 minutes to do your ministry work and then call me, I can quit fussing and I can get up off that bed, because it is hard. And it just, no matter what's going on in people's lives, if they can see what you're coping with and how you're doing it, it can be so helpful and encouraging to the others. And then I've used different parts of it in books and in web posts, blog posts, and people say, wow, similar to Heather, how can I complain about this when you went through, all of that? And it's like, well, I didn't do it for that purpose, but I'm glad it hit that person that way. So, but yeah, it's been very therapeutic, and I just encourage people, keep a journal. I used Otter a lot because I couldn't get my fingers to type real well after the chemo, but I used Otter and then was able to save that out into a Word document. So that's how I started mine.
So, so let's just, we'll end with just each one of you just talking to people out there that are going through this and why they should be part of this book with you guys. So Heather, why don't you start?
Well, I just think I love the style of this book, that you just get to write. All you have to do is write your story. And because I have written a couple other books, and let me tell you what, I almost gave up several times because it is a lot of work, and it's not the kind of work I'm good at. I'm good at writing and telling my story, but I'm not good at publishing and editing and all that stuff. That stuff about killed me. So if all you have to do is write your story and turn it in, and you guys do all, Sally and Linda do all the work and the behind the scenes and promote it and the marketing, that's amazing. And I also think just the opportunity to share how you have embraced this impact with other people. Primarily, it's going to be cancer patients reading it, and they need to know that they are not the only ones who are having these feelings, and that there is hope at the end of their journey or even during it. A lot of people who are going to write this story have, metastatic breast cancer. They have something that is never going to not be part of their physical life. And you can impact people even while you're sick. I started writing when I was in the hospital. That's when my first blog post was. It's the first one in my book is from when I was in the hospital with leukemia in that first 30 days. I didn't know if I was going to live. And we don't know how long any of us are going to live. So just get started.
Yeah, I love it. Laura?
There's so many things and emotions that hit us when we get that diagnosis, right? And so for some people, they want to live a little bit longer to see their kids grow up or get married. For others, it's to spend time with their grandchildren. It doesn't have to be that, that big pie in the sky, like I have to have, all this stuff to be successful with cancer and bring hope. That's not how it goes. It's the little stories. It's, I lost my hair every time I had chemo. How frustrating is that? It's, I laugh at myself, when my husband says I'm going bald, I'm like, yeah, I've been there, no biggie. But you try and find, some hope, some encouragement with the little things going on, so that, you can share that. And someone else is going to be at that point where they have either, they're in the hospital for 30 days, or they've lost their hair again, or their eyebrows come out 6 months later after the hair grows back, right? You find the humor in that, and that gives people hope. They're like, okay, it's not just me. This is not just this weird thing happening to me. But cancer is a way of bonding people. And so again, everybody's success or hope is going to come out differently. For me and for Heather, it's being able to share that with others and just love on people and minister to them. But that's not how everybody's going to be. So we hope that those who are participating in the book and then reading, which could be cancer folks or it could be their caregivers, that they are reading and they are learning, or they're wanting to share their story. Because like Heather said, you can write a whole book all by yourself, yikes, or you can just write your story. And your story is what's going to be impactful and hope-filled for others. And you guys take all the worry out of that. All I've got to do is get it on paper and send it to you. And so it's easy peasy once it's there. And most people feel they want to share what they went through, just to give some some semblance to why it happened. And so it's neat to hear the different stories, and we are so looking forward to all the authors who want to contribute with us in this book to provide hope for folks all around the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today and embracing the impact of cancer. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.